أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أم حسبتم أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يأتكم مثل الذين خلوا من قبلكم مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا حتى يقول الرسول والذين آمنوا معه متى نصر الله ألا إن نصر الله قريب. Sadaqallahu Azim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, or do you think that you shall enter the garden of bliss without such trials as those who passed away before you? They encountered suffering and adversity and were so shaken in spirit that even the messenger and those of faith who were with him cried, when will come the help of Allah? Ah, verily, the help of Allah is always near. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Islam for Europeans. Please like and subscribe. I'm your host, Robert. And, I wanted to talk about a very important topic today, but I want to preface this by saying that we all know what's happening in the world. We all know that of the atrocities that are taking place day in and day out. And may Allah keep our brothers and sisters all across the world, not just in the Holy Land, but all across the world safe. May Allah grant paradise to those who have passed away, and may Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, bring an end to this horrible genocide that's taking place before us. I was at the masjid a couple of weeks ago, and I talked to one of the brothers because I'm part of like basically the group for converts there. We have like our own kind of sub organization, and we were chit chatting and everything, and he's asked how I was doing, and I said, you know what. For a while, I just thought to myself, what's the point of running this group? Because there's with all this stuff that's going on. I mean, like, why should it matter? Why should it be important? Aren't the problems that are going around across the world like far greater than we can ever think of? And he said, no, that's the wrong way to look at it. I mean, your work is absolutely necessary. I had time to think about it, and the more I thought about it, I'm just like, yeah, you know what, like, if mosques across the West, keep running the way that they do, not just in regards to how they deal with converts, but also, with the Muslim youth. Like they're just not going to be able to handle, the issues that are they're going to have to deal with for the rest of 2023 and onwards. And a couple of days later, I saw on the internet that they were through YouTube Shorts and TikTok that there's actually because of the unfolding events, a lot of people, one, reading the Quran, and two, actually converting to Islam. And a lot of the Dawah channels and in the Muslim sphere on social media, you know, um, obviously they're using these conversions to help boost people's iman and to give people some hope in the Muslim community, some much needed energy and positivity. And I think that's great. I didn't want to make this video to become like to be like a Debbie Downer. I think it's absolutely amazing that these people are converting to Islam like I did back in 2003. But I think what I'm concerned about is that me being a convert of 20 years, and many other converts have noted the same thing, who've been around in the game for a long time, is that even before October 7th, mosques, Muslim communities, Islamic organizations, by and large, with some rare exceptions, do not have the time, the money, the resources, or the wherewithal, really, to deal with converts issues. And a testament to that is when you walk into any mosque in Canada, even one that's been there for several decades. It doesn't matter if it's been on if it's on the busiest street, the busiest intersection in the city. Usually, I will be the only convert there. for Friday prayer, Fajr prayer, Isha, you name it. You do get people coming in to take their Shahada, but it's very rare to find someone that stays in these mosques, becomes a regular member, nor do you find people who stay there for any length of time. And like mosques have tried to address these issues before. They've from time to time come up with various programs to try to help converts, and usually these fall flat. And usually it's very rare to find that quote unquote PhD candidate, the convert to Islam, that not only takes their Shahada, but completely assimilates into an existent Muslim community or Islamic organization. There, and it's kind of a large case of what we call survivorship bias. When a lot of Muslims think of what a convert is, they think this kind of superstar that like is extremely pious and changes the way they dress, changes the way they act, does their ijaza overseas, marries into a Muslim family, and basically becomes like this kind of savior for the Muslim community. And I think part of the reason why they think that is because the average Joe, the average person who reads the Quran and converts to Islam, they normally don't have the resources or the ability and the personality traits, to like take on this role. So this kind of siphons off the vast majority of Westerners who otherwise would have become integrated members of the Muslim community. And when we here at Islam for Europeans, what we're advocating for is that the people who convert to Islam should gel and collectivize into in any way, shape, or form, whether that's what you want to call it, a sub-community, or have their own organization, because they understand their problems the best. And people who should be running these organizations are people who have been converts to Islam, who have been Muslims for several years, right? So this is even before the events of last month, but now you're going to see this issue exponentially increase, for several reasons. One is, as I stated before, you have more people interested in Islam. Just like, when the first Gulf War happened, I think like 3,000 US soldiers converted to Islam. After the tragic events of 9/11, thousands of people converted to Islam in the West because they wanted to find out what it was actually about. So they picked up the Quran and they read it. But now in 2023, you have all these other different factors too. One of which is that social media is just so much larger and more expansive than it was 20 years ago. I mean, in 2003, when I converted, you had the internet, but Muslim Islamic websites are very sparse. Sometimes you just had to get information from what you could from books. You couldn't go online and look up, there wasn't even a website where you could, like Quran.com, where you could just go to click on any ayah and just like have it here being recited. There's nothing of that. Now that everything is at our fingertips. So social media has just expanded, exponentially fold. So everything's more public now. And I think that that is it changes the game a lot in several different ways. One is that which you see like a lot of people converting to Islam, but now their conversions are almost being made public, and that's definitely a changing factor. And when you have like people who who convert to Islam and then are going to face an enormous backlash from their family. Mosques, masajid are not really designed to ameliorate the situation with the non-Muslim, the converts to Islam family at all. And that's not the Muslim community's fault or the mosque's fault, because a lot of them are hiding their conversion from their family, that they don't want them to find out. B, usually people in Muslim communities born Muslims, they usually stick to their own spheres. Like they don't really interact with the greater non-Muslim community in any way, shape, or form. And if they do, the interaction is very limited. So at most, they might say, okay, we'll have your family, come to the mosque, and we'll have an open house, or maybe we'll invite them. They can give them a tour. Well, I mean, there's problems with that. I mean, even if their non-Muslim family doesn't have a problem with Islam. Like going into a mosque is simply not their turf. It's foreign territory, and vice versa. Muslims don't want to go into non-Muslim territories, right? So as a convert, you're really living between two worlds. And so it's just not really designed for that. And even a lot of mosques are in busy intersections, so a lot of converts don't go to a mosque, not because they don't like the people there, but because if they walk outside of the mosque and they're wearing a hijab or anything, and all it takes is one relative to drive by and see their family member coming out of a mosque, and then the next thing the cat is out of the bag, and they found out that they're Muslim, and the repercussions of that could be very enormous. And this is part of what I'm talking about, and that's the fact that mosques simply don't have any type of program. Most mosques don't have any type of program for converts. That this can actually end up hurting the whole Muslim community in the long run. So I'll give you like a very simple example. Let's say you have maybe 20 people who convert to Islam in your city, and 10 of them, let's say half of them, get kicked out of their house by their family, right? Because because of the visceral reaction they had at their conversion. Well, then that burden falls upon the Muslim community. And in 2023, rent is so incredibly expensive. It would cost an inordinate amount of money to house these converts, especially because especially if they're women, like it's the mosque's responsibility. Normally, this would fall on the waqf, the charity purse of of a Muslim organization in a Muslim country. Since there is no waqf, that falls upon the Muslim community. And with the events that are happening right now, I mean, basically Muslim organizations, they can't afford to waste money. I mean, like it's such an incredibly dire situation in Gaza that I would actually prefer that we don't spend all this money on converts. And I saw one tweet from a convert brother saying, like, there's a lot of people learning about Islam. We should, the Muslim community should band together and create like a convert package. And I do think that the quote unquote convert package is a nice gift. I think that it's a nice gift to give like a new Muslim, but it doesn't solve all their problems usually. I mean, usually these convert packages consist of like a prayer mat and books and free hijabs, and like and things of that nature. But like if the convert has to constantly deal and mitigate the relationship with their non-Muslim family, a convert package isn't going to solve that. And I've seen it before. Mosques end up just throwing money at this problem, trying everything they can to keep converts, and like it doesn't solve the problem. And I honestly think that we should be very frugal when it comes to figuring out what goes into a convert package, and we shouldn't be wasting money on let's face it, reading materials that are way too advanced. Right. So, and like again, this is what I call a non-zero sum game. We have to get out of this zero sum game mindset. A lot of Muslims think, well, why are we, like, what's the point of having an organization like this? Why are you just so focused on converts all the time? Well, I mean, we have to look at it holistically. If we don't have solutions and don't have a thriving community of converts from whatever background they may be from, a couple of things are going to happen. One, the Muslim community is going to keep looking more and more like that Islam is just a religion for foreigners, whereas Islam is supposed to be a religion for all humanity. It's supposed to be compatible with any culture. But non-Muslim populace doesn't see that. And the large reason for that happening is that there's no sub-community among their people that is actually, that has ever converted to Islam as a group, with a few exceptions. Right. So, if there was an existent community of, say, for example, Dutch converts, in the Netherlands, and they had a group, they converted as a group, they mostly married each other, they had kids, and then you saw that you see this kind of Dutch synthesis of Dutch culture within Islam, then that would change the game. And like to actually, if they could see that Muslims were actually encouraging this, then Islam stock would go way up. But that's not what you see in the West. And secondly, like I said, the Muslim community, they're strapped enough as it is, even before October. You know, a lot of these masajid are running on absolutely shoestring budgets. Um, you know, a lot of them rely on donations. And you know, and you know, in terms of time, I mean, you know, like imams, people who run the mosque, they're already really busy, as some of them have full-time jobs. You know, and they have families. So, you know, you can't really ask like, you know, these, you know, leaders of mosques to like take in converts as like these cultural orphans. They really don't have the time to do this. And you know, when you do say, if they do, you know, think about, you know, ways to try to help them out, um, like I said, even like the issues faced, you know, that board Muslim communities are facing, we can't really relate to what they're facing. You know, like in certain ways we can. I mean, you know, we're all, you know, just really ripped apart, you know, emotionally, you know, but what we're seeing, you know, on social media, you know, and the crisis that's happening right now. But you know, I don't have relatives that are directly involved with that conflict. I can't imagine what it is, you know, to be going through that as someone who has, you know, a family in Gaza or wherever, you know, wherever there's a tragedy occurring in the Muslim world. You know, I don't know what it's like to be a visible Muslim. You know, I don't know what it's like to have to deal with even issues related to being in a born Muslim family as minorities living in the West. That's something that converts, especially, you know, European descendant converts, can't really relate to. And you know, like even though like the Muslim community is very warm and welcoming, and you know they want what's best for you and they want to see you succeed. Um, Trying to fit into these communities and kind of assimilate into them, you know, it doesn't always really work out that way. And when converts try to do this, they end up kind of like LARPing as like an Arab or a Pakistani, and you know, like the uncles love it. You know, you're walking around wearing the shalwar kameez, you're eating with your hands, you're eating biryani now. But you know, like you know, this is the old guard. I mean, like, you know, like your family is going to reject you if you start acting this way. And, you know, it can be tough. It can be very difficult trying to, you know, assimilate as a convert into an existing Muslim community. And in 2023, there's probably going to be a lot of heightened thoughts about, you know, like being a convert or someone interested in Islam, really walking into a mosque for the first time. I mean, you know, a lot of these people who might be interested in Islam, who come into the mosque or, you know, ask some questions, you know, they may not be the most emotionally stable people. And even though we're seeing an uptick in positive opinions toward, you know, Islam and Muslims in the West among those who support us, you know, there's still a lot of animosity among the, you know, the crowd that doesn't like Muslims, and that vitriol is getting stronger and stronger. So there's, I think, a lot of mosques run just like this heightened awareness that when they see like a white person walk in for the first time, um, you know, obviously there's going to be some fear and some, you know, like, you know, is this guy like a spy or what have you? And you know, like, you can say that, you know, that's wrong, but honestly, like, I don't blame them. I mean, you have no idea who these people are. There's no vetting process. And, you know, like a lot of these, you know, many of these Muslim communities don't interact with the Anglosphere whatsoever. So to, you know, to put this on their shoulders that now they're going to help all of like your non-Muslim family members and teach them about Islam, you know, when your family has all these varying attitudes on Islam to begin with, um, I just can't see that working out. And, you know, um, and really like the sad thing is none of these Islamic organizations and mosques are really even talking about this, you know, like, you know, upcoming issue that's going to happen, you know, as the weeks and months go on, because you're absolutely going to see a massive influx of people converting to Islam. And, you know, we don't want them to just take their Shahada and then you never see them again. You know, like, you know, I really truly feel for them, and I really happy that they're reading into Islam or converting. It really, you know, brings a smile to my face. You know, I just think that, you know, the issues that the converts are dealing with, they need specialized task people to work on this. And I think that us converts need to take this work upon our shoulders in any way that we can, to try, you know, to collectivize in any way, shape, or form, so that when these people do come in, we can answer the questions to the best of our ability. And, you know, hopefully, inshallah, help improve the relationship with their non-Muslim family and community. And that might be meeting them at a neutral place. That might be having a phone conversation with them, or it may be giving the best advice to the convert who doesn't really know what they're going to be facing up against. Because I've seen a lot of converts get really wrong advice from even supposedly educated born Muslims. Like so yeah. Again, like I said, I'm saying these things because I care about the Muslim community as a whole. I want the Muslim communities in the West and abroad, all across the Muslim world to be successful in safety and security. And this is why we're running this organization and others like it. And why we're advocating that Masajid help us and advocating that the converts, form their own fora, their own organizations, their own businesses, like social media outlets, so that we can, finally start to grow these Muslim communities, from the ground up, because I think one of the, like we have a lot of support from a lot of non-Muslims in the West. Still, there's a lot of people who are on the fence about us, and I think one of the main fears is that like people in the West feel that their culture is dying. Their birth rates are plummeting, and they see Islam as a threat, not physically, but in a cultural sense. Um, and they see these people converting to Islam and completely changing everything about them. And I don't think that that's right. I think that when you look across the Muslim world, you see a lot of cultural variation based on where the people are from. And if Muslims are not going to feel comfortable, um, just kind of like assimilating into the Anglosphere, which I think you see like that they're even becoming more reluctant to reach out, even though like when you look on with the protests, there seems to be a lot of support. Still, when you talk to hear Muslims on social media and you talk to them personally, many of them just they feel like they want to leave the West, like because they see a governments that are becoming more and more draconian, that are implementing agendas on their kids and on their families that they don't agree with, and they're just quashing any type of dissent. They're putting their jobs in jeopardy. And like even though like you see like this uptick in positivity towards Islam and Muslims among many Westerners, that really doesn't translate to born Muslim communities because the fear is still there, and there's still the people who really hate Islam. Their hatred is being ramped up tenfold. So I mean that's what I think. That's what that's my recommendation. I know that I've reiterated these points on my previous videos time and time again, and I hate being a broken record, but I do think that because of what we're seeing now in the West, that these issues are going to become even larger. And I don't think that unless we like start thinking about how we can address these and help these new converts out without depleting the Muslim community's resources, as much as they are depleted right now, that like we're not going to have a game plan. And I don't want to see these converts slipping through the cracks and falling through the wayside, and Islam continues to be seen just as a religion for people from other countries instead of what it really is, which is the 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 religion of God, the path that God has chosen for us to follow, that is universal, that accepts any culture, and does not place any superiority in the sight of God, based on what your cultural origins are. Okay, so that's my time for the day. Thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe to Islam for Europeans. And yes, let me know what you think in the chat about this. But I wish all the Muslims all around the world for us to be successful in this life and the next. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us peace and security. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.